Good to see so many familiar faces here from the visit to Cork, Galway, and Dublin that we made as part of the Choose New Jersey delegation in the pre-pandemic days. And one of the folks we were fortunate enough to meet during that time was Peter Oakes of FinTech Ireland. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce Peter to you. Peter, please take it away.
That, Bernie, and as we're all being given the submission these days about making sure our microphones are turned off or put on mute, that's exactly what I did. Thank you very much for the welcome here today, and it was great to meet the team when they were across here in Ireland. In order to keep things moving along, we've got a great lineup today, presentations and speakers. And one thing there, Bernie, I just wanted to check with you. We're going to turn across to Jose now, is it?
No, it's you, Peter.
Stay with me to introduce the governor. Thank you. Sorry, I just got my agenda here slightly, might be an earlier edition. So just wanted to say to everybody, thanks for being here. And it's actually my great pleasure to introduce the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy. With a surname of Murphy, there must be some Irish heritage there, Governor, which I'm sure you'll be able to tell us all about. We've been one of the most focused governors on strengthening bilateral relationships with New Jersey and the international community. When I was talking to the team and trying to get understanding about the business case for New Jersey, it was made very clear to me that the economic strategy that you announced in 2018, outlining programs and priorities, is really focused on a number of key sectors, but in particular, FinTech. And that over the last 3 years, it looks like, Governor, you've hit the trifecta by increasing business attraction pipeline from 25% 3 years ago to up to 75% today. So that's no mean feat at all. And you made Ireland one of your top priorities. I understand as well from my own research and background with Goldman's, both in Europe and Asia. So you really do come at this role, which is great for someone like me in the industry, not just with good political standing, very strong negotiation skills, I would understand, Governor, but also business acumen and business background. As I said, Irish heritage there, no doubt, to Cork. And without further ado, Governor, this is your time, not mine. So I'm delighted to introduce you, Governor Phil Murphy, to our audience today.
Hey, thank you, Peter. Good morning, everybody here, and good afternoon, everyone there. Thank you, Peter Oakes, for that introduction. Bernie, thank you for kicking us off, and thanks for everything you do at New Jersey City University School of Business. It's a great honor to be with everybody today. Again, I have to extend my appreciation not just to Bernie and NJCU, but also to Peter and his colleagues at FinTech Ireland, and to Choose New Jersey, Jose Lozano and his colleagues, for their partnership in putting today's conversation together, and for all of you for choosing to spend some time with us. I also want to give a big shout out to our Economic Development Authority. I am a Murphy after all, as Peter pointed out, so there's no way I was not going to be a part of this discussion. And Peter, I'm County Cork in a little community called Dunamore, and we have tried now 2 years in a row to make a state visit to Ireland, only to be thwarted by the pandemic. But I promise you, we will not relent, and we will get there. So I've said many times to many folks, I view my position as governor as head of the sales department. And that's the hat that I'm wearing right now. Some of you have heard me talk about, and you'll continue to hear about the tremendous advantages of New Jersey. And I want to make sure that those advantages are not lost, and they're quite consistent with the conversation you all are having today. So our objective is nothing short of being the state of innovation, the best state in America to raise a family. We want to have an unrivaled economic ecosystem where innovative and game-changing companies can find a home and can succeed, where new ventures can take shape, and where established companies who may already be here will want to expand, or maybe they're from somewhere else and want to expand in New Jersey. And New Jersey's had this sort of sense, this sort of perspective going for quite some time. We are, in fact, where much of the modern world was invented, from Edison's light bulb in Menlo Park, New Jersey, to the transistor at the fabled Bell Labs, to the film industry in Fort Lee, to any number of financial services and technology companies. New Jersey was for decades synonymous with invention and innovation. And frankly, in many respects, still is. And the FinTech business in particular is a big part of our economy. We have a lion's share of the middle to back office, so-called Wall Street functions, and overwhelmingly, there's a lot of FinTech in that. One other note is that we've been the birthplace of digital cellular technology, and that's notable for our friends in Ireland in the following respect. The first transatlantic telephone cable connecting the US to Europe back in 1956 was fostered at Bell Labs in Homedale, New Jersey. And as we speak today, Ding, which is a mobile top-off specialist company headquartered in Dublin, has made their US home in that very same building. Bell Works, it is now called. And I want to, just for all the above, invite you all to be a part of our exciting future. I've made it clear that international trade and partnership is key to our economic future. We have great advantages here in New Jersey, and of that there is no doubt. But we cannot ignore that we can't grow on our own. We cannot allow ourselves to have a protectionist and closed mindset, and we won't. We have the long-established leadership, as I mentioned, as the home of innovation. I mentioned a little bit of the history. I could give you a lot more, I won't, but that stuff just doesn't happen. It evolves out of the tremendous advantages that New Jersey holds. Talent, location being the two big ones. We've got that, as I mentioned, proximity to New York City's financial markets. And as a result, would become sort of the perfect home for FinTech companies. I think we've got 145 last count FinTech companies headquartered in New Jersey, and that's 25% of the Forbes list of FinTech 50 are in the New Jersey region. And the growth of that industry is being fueled by the availability of finance and technology-focused programs at world-class institutions. And that includes Bernie and his team at New Jersey City University School of Business. We are home to some of the world's leading institutions of higher education. And we are serviced by all means of transportation infrastructure, and for all the above, our position is second to none. I mentioned talent. We are ranked #1 in America in a couple of respects. #1 public education school system in America, of which we're very proud. We're also #1 in America in the concentration of scientists and engineers. We're also, I say, with a badge of honor, that we are the #1 most diverse state in America. And we're in the top handful of most educated states in America overall. And that's at all skill levels, everything from our pre-K through grade 12 education to our community colleges to our four-year colleges and research institutions. I also love the fact when people say, how's your international mindset? I say, listen, look at the percentage of kids in our schools that take foreign languages and compare that to any other American state. We're not only #1, we lap #2. So this is a good story for us, and I think it's very consistent with the discussion you're having today in the FinTech industry overall. And I think if you look anywhere in the US, I can say with a fair amount of conviction, there's no better place than to plant your flag right here in New Jersey. And we also know that companies want to go to where they feel welcome, where their employees are respected, and where our common values guide us. And in this respect, we also lead the pack. So we can make the math work as it relates to value. We can give you the location and the talent because it's here, but we also stand firmly by our values: open democracy, respect of diversity, and on and on and on. And we grow when we work together. We grow when we invite others to join us. And so I'm incredibly excited by the possibilities which lay before us. And so I proudly invite FinTech Ireland and each of you to be a part of that future. And to those of you who already have your operations in our state, I say thank you. And to those who are considering, I say, come to New Jersey. It'll be the best decision you ever make. And I thank you once again for the opportunity to be with you today. I look forward to our continuing conversations, hopefully in person, not just here in New Jersey, but I mentioned I'll be making that state visit to Ireland if it kills us, and really excited to see you, Peter, and your colleagues in FinTech Ireland when we're there. And again, blessings and best of luck today to everybody. Take care, folks.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you very, very much for that. You're more than welcome when you come over.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate it. Now, I'm Bill Noonan from Choose New Jersey, Business Development Director, and it's my honor to introduce more formally Peter Oakes of FinTech Ireland. Peter formally founded FinTech Ireland in 2014 in August to give a unique identity to the promotion and facilitation of the FinTech scene in Ireland and promotes the Irish FinTech scene globally. Peter is a non-executive director of regulated financial services companies and RegTech and FinTech companies. Peter consults on FinTech, RegTech, financial services regulation, enforcement, and business strategy. In 2009, Peter was the lead consultant to one of Ireland's great FinTech success stories as it pursued a license from the Irish regulator. Peter is regarded internationally as a FinTech, RegTech, central banking, and financial regulation expert. Peter, I now turn it to you for your presentation.
Bill, thank you very much for those kind words. I couldn't have said it better myself, even if I had written that biography myself. You're very kind. I was taken there by the Governor again. I love the point of the Governor raising that it's all about innovation, family, and talent. And those three pillars, for want of a better phrase, are there to drive economic activity and entrepreneurship. Now, I may just check that you can see those slides there, Bill, at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes, you can.
Thank you very much. I'll just make them a little bit larger so they're easy to see. The first thing is, don't worry about the number of slides in this deck. We are certainly not going to be covering each and every one of them. I have put these slides up on fintechireland.com already, and if you go to the events page, you will find this presentation deck there, and they'll also be with Bill and the team so they can distribute to anyone else who may want copies of the presentation material. Already covered off my background in FinTech. I won't say that. Bill has very kindly referenced some of the businesses I'm involved in, but they all are regulatory technology companies. Susquehanna is actually based in the States, and I'm on its subsidiary board here in Ireland. And TransferMate is doing a lot of work now, an Irish FinTech company doing business in the US, and actually a sister company of ours, which I didn't realise until this week, Amidas, is actually has an office there in New Jersey as well, and they focus on payroll. I'm also involved with a law firm, Armstrong Teasdale, and quite heavily involved with their FinTech advisory work. And in the States, it'd be remiss if I don't say, if you need to know anything about Armstrong Teasdale's FinTech work, talk to Rich Sheff there on the East Coast at Armstrong Teasdale. And for Europe, talk to Daniel O'Connell. I won't go through the rest of this, my background in terms of regulatory work, but it's through regulation that I ended up in financial technology. And FinTech Ireland was really set up as a bit of a cry for help. We are deeply connected to the ecosystem in Ireland. We're tracking some 400 FinTech companies, not just those born in Ireland, but those coming into Ireland. We're running a survey, some data which I will give you. We've got a big following on social media, large number of visitors per annum to the website, and we do a lot of talking. Hopefully it's informed talking at events, and I think we're nearly cracked 10,000 people that we've stood in front of, or at a conference or other seminar. Now, to talk about this and give us the context of FinTech, it's actually quite important for us to appreciate what's going on in financial services in Ireland for the bridge, as what we've called this event, the FinTech bridge, between Ireland and New Jersey. There's over 10,000 regulated financial firms in Ireland. Ireland is now the third largest exporter of financial services from Europe. 250 of the world's largest FinServs are based here in Ireland. We've got a massive funds industry association, particularly around assets under administration and domiciled funds. And a large number of those funds are set up by promoters on the east coast of the USA, as many of you will know. We employ around about 45,000 people in the Republic of Ireland directly in international financial services. and 7,000 work in financial technology. That's our best guess, around about 15%, and 105,000 people in the wider technology sector. Now, through all those surveys and the work that we do, we've become best known for these FinTech maps. So I'm just going to mention what they are. We don't need to spend much time on these, but this is just to try and show what is the FinTech ecosystem like. This map with the dark green colours is what I would call the Indigenous FinTech map. So these are the Irish FinTechs. So they're born in Ireland. So these are the ones that are looking to scale globally. So when it comes to the US, these are the ones that you'd have a look at to see to get them and attract them into New Jersey. Because, as we'll find out later, America is quite popular for Irish FinTech. You'll also see a few logos on that map, which are now being acquired by Broadridge, actually, as well. So Fundassist and also Rockall. But the way we looked at the map, and there's 246 Indigenous FinTechs on this, is to break it down into credit lending, payments, funds and trading, financial operations, and regulatory technology, and a number of other areas. You do see a small sector there for crypto and blockchain. It doesn't mean that we're not doing much in blockchain in Ireland. In fact, we're doing quite a lot. But there's a smaller number of them pointed at financial services. And another way to think about this is by looking at this pie chart. And you can see straight away in the light blue colour, the payment sector. Those that make it easier to send money internationally, electronic wallets. Around 25% of Indigenous FinTech are focused on payments. But the next biggest sector is regulatory technology. And that is a hive of activity because of the issues of demonstrating compliance with rules and regulations. So having a big regulated sector in Ireland, we've developed quite a big regulated technology sector, as too has the US. And many reg tech companies in Ireland, and we're going to hear from a great one later on in the terms of Fenergo, are involved in that area. And also what you would have seen on the previous map, I didn't stop there, is Global Shares, who we're also going to hear from. And then you can see that the next biggest area, really other than others, is credit and lending. And we really hope that's going to increase in Ireland because in a few months from now, we're going to legislate for what's called crowdfunding in Ireland. Now, when doing these maps, we were originally told that we weren't paying enough attention to the international FinTechs that now call Ireland home. And that was quite a good point. If you can tell from my accent, I wasn't born in Ireland. I was born in Sydney, Australia. But if someone said to me I'm not Irish, I'd probably say they're quite mistaken, particularly since I lived through the financial crisis in Ireland as well, like every other Irish woman and man. So we created this map to try and identify those fantastic international FinTech companies setting up in Ireland. So it's a light green colour. And again, we try to do it by way of payments, funds and trading, reg tech. And you'll probably recognise quite a number of companies on that map. Now, on this pie chart, again, just trying to show what sectors do those FinTech companies that are coming from overseas work in? Well, again, payments is huge. It's actually then followed by funds and trading at 13%, and then regulatory technology. Another way of thinking about this, looking at international versus Indigenous FinTech, and the reason why they should collaborate is really set up on this slide here, showing how the 357 FinTechs operating in Ireland where they come from, either Indigenous or international. So these slides, as I said, are available on the website now, so you can go and have a look at them at your leisure. And of course, although we have 357 firms in Ireland doing FinTech, not every single firm has to be regulated by a financial regulator. Notwithstanding that, we have around, I'd say now it's just under 40, maybe just 41 regulated financial technology companies. So in addition to being innovative, they also have to comply with lots of rules and regulations. One of those companies on the map is Currency Fair, which as a business that I was in, I helped get authorised way back in 2009, has recently been involved in a deal with Standard Chartered and Assembly Payments. In addition to FinTech Ireland, because no country and no man, no woman is an island unto themselves, we've set up a number of other groups, particularly US TechFin. I think TechFin is really probably the better sounding word now than necessarily FinTech. And so let's talk about that. In terms of fintech funding, it remains strong in America. You guys probably saw this through the recent standard S&P Global Market Intelligence report. That $17.8 billion US dollars went into private US fintech companies in 2020, and the numbers for Q1 2021 look just as extraordinary. In Ireland, we've had a great run of fintech investment and investment generally in companies, except early stage. They really have suffered in Ireland. And that's probably a reason why Irish fintech would look towards New Jersey. So we deem an early startup stage company to be something that's raising 5 million or less. And so that's a statement here by our Irish Venture Capital Association. So just to say, we're doing quite well overall in investment in Ireland, but early stage companies aren't getting the funding that they used to get. I mentioned the survey, and I just want to quickly mention why I think the survey powers what we're going to say about the bridge between Ireland and New Jersey. Don't worry about these first few slides. It is great to see that Irish fintech are looking, 95% of them saying they are going to recruit. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to recruit in Ireland. It means when they expand, they will look to recruit in those new jurisdictions. I think it's this slide I would like to just point to. First of all, we hear that raising money in Ireland can be a challenge, and we saw that on the last slide. But we also see that any way you cut it, including Ireland in the question or taking it out, that North America is the #1 priority jurisdiction for Irish fintech. There's absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. Every year we look at it, it's exactly the same. And why do I want to mention that? Because there are some challenges around funding, and these challenges will continue. What we do see, and I'll just jump to this slide, is if you look at that data in your own ledger, is the case for New Jersey and the case for Ireland. If there are challenges in our local market relating to raising investment, finding and retaining talent, and thanks again to the governor for pointing out the importance and the talent pool in New Jersey, and if an Irish company wants to scale, it needs to leave its own borders. It's looking for a solid offering, and it's looking for a team that wishes to grow that team and improve the offering, and wants to go global and take a step towards a jurisdiction where there are strong similarities in language, culture, and the fostering of entrepreneurship and innovation. Then why not New Jersey? And if we think the other way around, or sorry, before I start thinking the other way around, Ireland is now the 9th largest source of foreign direct investment in the United States, according to the US Bureau of Economic Analysis. But why also think about Ireland for New Jersey companies? Well, if you want to go global and take a step in a jurisdiction where there's strong similarities, just like culture fostering and entrepreneurship innovation. You want to expand across the European Union, access EU population of 448 million people, 66.8 million in the UK. You want a passport regulated services across Europe, English first language country, benefiting from a common law system that New Jersey knows, and a highly educated, talented and multicultural human resource talent pool. And also think about Ireland. Many other US companies have, and huge numbers of staff and offices and investment here in the jurisdiction. So I'm going to stop just there. We've got a few events coming up. I'd like you to get in touch, but I'd just like to leave that last point. Think about New Jersey if you are in Ireland for all the points we've mentioned and what the governor touched on earlier. Thanks very much, Bill. That was a really quick whistle-stop tour.
Peter, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your work on the event as well. It's now my honor to start to the first panel session, the Engaged Investor. How fintech firms are enabling and protecting investors in a digital world. And I'm going to introduce the moderator, RP Sandilia. He is the head of business development and client solutions for the wealth and global BPO businesses at Broadridge Financial Solutions. RP and his team collaborate closely with sales, marketing, product management, and strategy to drive sales and revenue growth through the development of next generation products and services to meet the emerging market needs. With 25 years of experience in financial services and technology and operation, RP brings experience building comprehensive process automation solutions to his clients. Now I'll pass it over to RP to introduce his panel.
Thank you very much. Dziękuję, everyone across the pond, and hello to everyone this morning. Hopefully you can hear me clearly and see that slide. And thank you, Bill, for that kind introduction. Well, what a neat event to encourage fintechs to come to New Jersey. And welcome to this panel discussion on the engaged investor and how fintech firms are enabling and protecting investors in the digital world. Just set the table for this conversation. Financial services markets are changing. There are zero commissions on trades, the ease of moving money, digital tools, the work from home that's associated with the pandemic, and the rules governing crowds have pushed everybody, even the risk takers, from traditional avenues towards financial markets. So much so that from about 10 to 14% of trades in the market coming from retail traders, it's now north of 20%. Now, fintechs have played a significant role in enabling this growth. And as the governor mentioned, fintech firms and entrepreneurs that found them are thriving. Some of this is, highlighted the need for increasing financial literacy as well. But it has also kept the regulators very busy as they've been trying to monitor financial crime. And we will talk about some of these themes with our panelists this morning. Just by way of a continued introduction, I come to you from Broadridge Financial Solutions, and we are a global fintech leader with over 4.5 billion in revenue. We are based here in Lake Success, New York, with a significant population of our associates here in New Jersey. And we provide communications, technology, data, and analytics. And our reach now is into about 80% of the households in North America. Firms trust us on average to process 10 trillion in fixed income and equity trades every day. And we reach nearly 100 countries with our trading and about 90 countries with our communications. The important aspect here is the fact that we have nearly 12,000 associates that are in 17 countries. In the context of this conversation, we have 1,500 associates at that lovely location you see at the top left of that slide in downtown Newark and in Secaucus and Mount Laurel. But we also have 150 associates in Dunleary and Dundrum out in Dublin. And those are the two firms that Peter mentioned that we were lucky enough to acquire over the last 2 or 3 years. So plenty of interest between New Jersey and Ireland for Broadridge as well. Which brings me, talking about locations, and as a long time, for more than 2 decades, New Jerseyite, let me introduce my panelists this morning. Rachel Woolley is Director of Financial Crime at Fenergo, and she is based out of the firm's headquarters in Dublin. Rachel has over 12 years of experience in the financial services industry, having worked primarily in the funds industry and retail banking. We are also lucky to have Hugh Curran. He is Managing Director of North America for Global Shares, an accomplished entrepreneur with a multitude of qualifications, including double masters in financial economics and mathematics, a bachelor's degree in business management, and honored in various committees and awards around the entrepreneurial community. He is based here out of New Jersey. So without any further ado, let's jump in and speak to our panelists this morning. So I'm going to bring you guys up. You're all on video. Let's jump right in and say hi to Hugh here. Congratulations, Hugh. You guys were named in the Ireland INC index of the top 250 firms. And that means you are one of the most innovative and entrepreneurial Irish companies currently in the United States. Tell us a little bit about Global Shares, your New Jersey presence, and what you do.
Okay. Thanks, RP, and thanks for having me here today, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all. So I guess managing employee share plans and cap tables, it's a pretty niche market, but I think RP, mainly thanks to maybe TV shows like Silicon Valley and Billions and the likes, and maybe Elon Musk taking payment only in stock options, it's become maybe more of a well-known industry over the last few years. So in terms of Global Shares, right now we're the only independent globally equity service provider. So we're 100% focused on employee share plans and equity compensation. And I guess our daily work is to make them as streamlined and as straightforward and efficient as possible. So we've actually been around for almost 15 years now and have just passed, I think, the 500 employee threshold, which is a fantastic achievement for the company, a huge benchmark for us to hit. So we've put together an incredible team of highly skilled equity professionals all around the world. We've about 20 offices located globally now. In terms of the software, so we provide a customized platform where our clients' employees can see their equity, model their equity, and then we help the companies themselves maybe manage their insiders and stay compliant with all the reporting and stuff that goes around with all of that. We're a MiFID regulated broker dealer in Europe. We're a FINRA and SEC regulated broker dealer in the US. So again, this allows us to provide maybe an end-to-end solution in terms of receiving your equity right through to, selling it on the stock market for whichever, exchange or company stock is traded on. We've got some huge clients on our books. So companies like maybe Coupang was the largest 2021 IPO in the United States. It would have been the largest 2020 IPO as well if it happened last year. So that was a huge event for us and for the company themselves. Others maybe like, Keurig Dr. Pepper, Bosch, Nissan, Bose, Fujitsu, some huge brand names like that. We've over 500 clients now. We're trading on 26 stock exchanges with hundreds of thousands of plan participants holding their equity and their assets with global shares. Governor Murphy might be happy to know we're headquartered out of Cork, as he mentioned earlier, where his family are from. So we're headquartered out of a little town called Clonakilty. But in terms of our New Jersey presence, we've about 20 staff now in our New Jersey office, which is based in Newport, Jersey City. So we've got a beautiful office right on the waterfront overlooking Manhattan. So quite lucky with that location. And we have been able to put together an incredible team here in the last couple of years. And it's helped grow our US client base in the last 24 months from about 60 to over 200. So we really have put together an incredible team here local to New Jersey. In terms of my own role, so I run the North American business. I have responsibility for sales, operations, client management, share dealing, and really touch off a little bit of everything that goes into the running of global shares.
Thank you much. I appreciate that, Hugh. Appreciate that. And let's switch here to Rachel real quick. Your firm has garnered significant market recognition for your digital client lifecycle and regulatory compliance solutions. Tell us a little bit about Fenergo and what you do for them.
Indeed. Thank you, RP. So Fenergo was established just over 12 years ago, and as you say, headquartered in Dublin. We currently have over 850 employees, and they're based in 15 offices across the globe. So in EMEA, in APAC, and of course in North America. In the US in particular, we have offices in both Boston and New York, and many of our colleagues are based in New Jersey. So I guess you could say that we currently have lots of remote offices in New Jersey, certainly for the last year. We're a leading provider of digital transformation, customer journey, and client lifecycle management solutions. And we currently count over 80 of the world's top financial institutions as valued clients. Our software digitally transforms and streamlines end-to-end client lifecycle management processes, and we focus in particular on financial regulation compliance. So the company was established shortly after the financial crash of 2008, and in response to the rapidly emerging, shall we say, regulations that were a result of that. I joined about 4 years ago, currently lead the financial crime function. And essentially, I'm responsible for the ongoing analysis and delivery of our AML and KYC business rules engine that essentially supports all of our clients across the globe with their AML obligations in over 100 jurisdictions at present. We monitor on an ongoing basis the evolving anti-money laundering legislation and trends and so on. So looking at things like beneficial ownership, we're likely to see a lot of change in the US later in the year, and continue to support our clients globally in an effort to essentially drive a best practice response to financial crime. So very much my focus is on helping to keep our clients safe from a compliance perspective, but also addressing the financial crime risks that we're all facing.
Thank you, Rachel. That makes perfect sense. And so you can see between the two of you, one of you supporting public and private companies establish equity compensation, encourage the best of staff to join, and the other one helping these firms manage the regulations around financial crime and helping them onboard clients as well effectively. So Hugh, let's talk about fintechs and entrepreneurs that found them. Your firm, you help startups as well. Fintechs and large institutions manage equity ownership. How do you help such firms attract and retain the best and brightest staff?
Yeah, so I guess what many companies recognizing the increasing value that equity awards can play with, I guess what we call the 3 R's: recruiting, rewarding, and retaining. So it is critically important for employees to understand, the value of their awards, and our technology. I guess that's where it comes into play. So in our industry, only going back 2 years, 3 years, everything was paper based and Excel based, and you were maybe issued a stock cert and you didn't have liquidity and you didn't know what to do with it and you never knew the value of it. So the great thing about our technology is it makes access to information so intuitive, it's easy to use. So the clients and their employees, they can view the details of their equity awards, at their fingertips at any time through the global shares, the smartphone app or through the desktop, whichever. So, at all times, they're able to see the value of their awards, they're able to see the future projected values of them, they're able to model selling them, they're able to model exercising their options, see their future vesting events, and they can do all this in multiple languages, multiple currencies. So again, just finally giving the employees the transparency into the value of the equity that they own in the company. It's allowing our clients to very much, recruit and retain the staff.
Makes perfect sense. With a lot of companies now during this pandemic also contemplating equity compensation in lieu of cash compensation, that seems to be an active place. Rachel, turning to you, I saw an interesting quote for you as I was doing some research here about 2020 having been quite a momentous year for regulations around financial crime. So how are fintechs such as yourself helping industry participants tackle financial crime?
Sure, I was a little worried when you said you saw an interesting quote, what that might be, but absolutely. So Fenergo publishes research annually in relation to the enforcement actions that are issued to financial institutions. So our core focus is on enabling our clients to remain compliant with their obligations across the globe. And one of the key areas that we look at is the enforcement actions issued by global regulators and supervisors. So in 2020, over $10.6 billion was paid in financial penalties by financial institutions, which is a huge amount of money to pay for non-compliance. And not only that, it has a significant impact on the actual end users, if you like. So whether it be shareholders of those financial institutions, but more importantly, I suppose from a financial crime perspective, if our compliance obligations aren't being met, then there's a human impact as a result of those failures in compliance. So it's a really interesting area, I suppose, to look at where those key trends are. In particular, we're seeing a lot of the fines starting to emerge in response to personal accountability, so holding individuals to account for some of those failures as well. So really good, interesting insights in that report, and certainly something to take a look at.
Very interesting indeed, and I'm glad there are technologies such as yourself that help firms monitor this and keep ahead of it. Talking about the engaged investors and investor literacy, which the need for it has come through pretty big. Hugh, that's big for you folks, right? Employee literacy, if you will. Tell us a little bit about Global Shares Academy and how that helps investors learn about employee ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good question, RP. So again, transparency into employee share plans and understanding what they are and the value to our clients and to their employees is paramount. So we built the Global Shares Academy as a space for people across, I guess, all industries, not just our industry, to allow them to learn more about employee ownership. So it's a free academy. It's online, and our website can be accessed by anybody at all times. So we created as, I guess, an easy place to explore the differences between various plan types that companies can create, and then we publish free templates that allows our clients and our non-clients, I guess, to establish, communicate and administer a wider range of employee stock plans, whether it's long-term incentive plans or employee purchase plans, etc. So it also, gives a place or a safe place for our clients or employees who want to learn from our experts. Firstly, maybe on how to attract, engage, and design the best plans to increase employee participation and attract that talent, and also to educate them on what they should be doing with their equity and how valuable it is to them. So I guess for every client, we define a communication strategy for them at the outset once they come on board. So we try and put a very clear, process in place for them. So I guess the main steps would be firstly building awareness, where we create brochures, we're creating posters to put up around the office locations, we're creating videos for them, educational videos. You've got your engagement that comes from that. So again, we'll outline a plan for, ongoing meetings, ongoing presentations, ongoing WebExes. We'll hold employee question and answer sessions with our experts. And then you have stuff like enrollment, where we're creating custom design and branded enrollment tasks, HTML campaigns. And again, you have your brochures and videos that come into play in that as well.
Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. And again, at a time like this, with the engaged investors, financial literacy is critical. Talking about protection, let's come back to you, Rachel. A lot of focus on data protection, privacy, and financial crime risk. How can fintech firms alleviate the pressure to comply with this conflicting obligation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, much as you mentioned there, the days of manual processes and paper-based processes are behind us. Certainly in the last year, so much of our world has moved online. So one of our key areas of priority, I suppose, is looking at that digital onboarding process, and of course, getting the balance right between financial crime risk and data privacy, data protection, and so on. A lot of emerging regulations across the globe from a data protection perspective. So one of the ways that the FinTech and RegTech world essentially can support, I suppose, a better approach to these processes is by utilizing digital services and so on, publicly available sources of information, and also creating consistent profiles of customers to prevent continuous outreach, looking for more information and so on, while also making a determination based on the risk appetite of the financial services firm. So there's lots of really good solutions that exist in creating that holistic end-to-end process. By automating as much of those processes as possible, helps to limit the impact that has on the end users or the investors and so on, while also ensuring compliance with your regulatory obligations.
Got it. Well, it makes perfect sense. Hugh, I'm going to, as we get towards the end of our time, just interesting hearing both your perspectives coming from two different sides as FinTech servicing the financial services industry. You came here to open the beachhead here in New Jersey, but since then, and you do a lot of your business here, how has it been doing business in New Jersey for you, and as you've expanded the franchise across the United States?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been fantastic. Working out in New Jersey, I think I can briefly mention going from 60 clients to 200 in the last couple of years. I think from that, I think we made the correct decision in choosing that location. So look, we obviously have Manhattan on our doorstep. We have the tri-state area, so we have access to thousands of prospective clients in our near vicinity. It's been an excellent hub, I guess more so pre-pandemic, for easy travel and access for our global team members and partners flying to New York and the New Jersey area, doing business. It's a quick 20-minute Uber from Newark into our office, which makes it incredibly convenient. But we're also surrounded by major competitors like UBS, Computershare, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Morgan Stanley. So that's given us access as well to an unparalleled pool of qualified candidates. That's allowed us to recruit and build a really high-powered team here.
Perfect.
So yeah, like you said, we have the Nashville office as well, with more so some back office administration and that. But New Jersey's been a great decision for us, and we continue to grow the team here. And we just renewed the lease, so we're not going anywhere.
That is awesome. I'm sure the governor and Choose New Jersey are really happy to hear that. And Rachel, you did mention that with every associate of yours in New Jersey working from home, you probably have 20 locations in New Jersey. So in closing, thank you guys. That was great. Look, the financial services market is booming, right? There is a tremendous opportunity for fintechs to provide technology and services that help financial services firms transform how they serve their customers through digitization, the adoption of disruptive technologies, while simultaneously ensuring that the investors' interests are well protected. I would like to thank FinTech Ireland and Choose New Jersey for putting this event together and giving us the opportunity to introduce our firms to all of you and discuss how our firms help the average investor. A big thank you to Rachel Woolley from Fenergo and Hugh Curran from Global Shares for your participation. I'll hand this back to Bill Noonan at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, RP. I appreciate it. And Rachel and Hugh, thank you so much. And Hugh, continued success. And we appreciate all those wonderful things you said about the state of New Jersey. I'm going to look to hire you to do some of my Zoom meetings in the future. Now we're going to switch it up just a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about the ecosystem and support in New Jersey, and then from Ireland. So first, let me introduce Aaron Price. Aaron Price is the CEO of Tech United New Jersey, which is formerly the New Jersey Tech Council. He represents over 500,000 innovators in some of the largest tech companies in the country. Previously, Aaron was the CEO of Propelify, since acquired by the New Jersey Tech Council, one of the largest entrepreneurial communities in the country. Together, Tech United NJ and Propelify provide the tools, resources, and community to propel ideas into action and to strengthen our effective technology ecosystem at all stages of growth. Aaron, who I've known for a number of years now, is a born entrepreneur. His first commercial venture was in high school after receiving a patent for a weightlifting device. Aaron lives in Hoboken with his wife and the startups with which they are most proud of, his two lovely daughters. So Aaron, welcome.
Hello, nice to see you.
Time today. And just why don't you start off and talk about Tech United? And you took over a little over about a year and a half ago now. Talk about what you've seen in the change. I know there's been a lot of changes because of the pandemic, but the ecosystem and the support that you're providing for that.
Sure, and thanks for having me, Bill, and to all of you for putting this event together. So Tech United is built to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, and instigators. What we say is to build a better future for all. And to Bill's point earlier on, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, found it to be a pretty solitary career choice. And so I started some community building in that effort, and found that there was a lot of interest in this region around bringing together entrepreneurs and innovators to help us succeed. And so that evolved into Tech United, and we can talk more about that evolution if you think it's relevant, Bill. But Tech United is about looking at the strengths of our region, creating real opportunity. And it figures that I'm sitting next to the printer, and it's been quiet all morning, and now it's about to go off. So I'll apologize for you for that noise. It's about finding our strengths as a region, and then making sure we're driving the right connectivity among the stakeholders so that we can provide real opportunity to the startups to grow, opportunities and deal flow to investors, talent opportunities to educational institutions, and then real strategic opportunity to corporates, which is where I find that we have such a strong base of support. And I see that if we, Tech United, can bring to their doorsteps really interesting opportunities around innovation, we can help the community thrive, we can help the region do well.
Yeah, and innovation is something that the governor touched on. It's something that we touch on. It's a campaign certainly for New Jersey as a state of innovation. And I know that, and as Peter said earlier on, and so one of the challenges for companies is to get investments. Perhaps you can talk to the arm that you kind of support in that area as well.
Yeah, I think that there's a real opportunity for New Jersey to rally the right investment in opportunities that exist both regionally and then in this case, internationally. And what we have found is that it's early in the process. We're relatively disorganized in the investor community, which often means that there is opportunity. And you brought this up in your prior question. The opportunity with the pandemic is that those who were investing, who may live in New Jersey and were investing in some of the New York channels, are looking more in their own backyards. And so we're finding that there's a huge amount of momentum from the communities who are saying, well, what's actually going on here? I'm no longer commuting to New York City every single day or multiple times a week. And so what's actually here? And so that's been a huge help in the momentum as we've talked to these people in the community and said, well, here are some things you may not have realized are actually in your backyard. And so with that in mind, we're actually starting to organize an angel group network. We're working on an accelerator program and some other things to make sure that we can keep some of those investment dollars here.
Right. And so you talk not only about startups, but then corporates and more established companies and what they're looking for. And I know that when we're talking to a lot of companies, they're talking about talent, they're talking about location, and Hugh touched on it, the governor touched on it. Perhaps you can touch on that as well.
Yeah, I would echo some of their thoughts. So a few things. One is I do believe we have some of the best talent in the country. And then I think that the lifestyle that New Jersey provides attracts a certain kind of a person that works well in a variety of industries. In this case, we're talking about FinTech, being such a center for the FinTech industry in general, with the proximity to New York and what's going on in New Jersey. There's robust talent opportunities here and resources here. And then if you talked also about the corporates and their role in this. And so I mentioned earlier on, we looked at our areas of strength. And what I'd found when I kind of walked in the door with the New Jersey Tech Council is we were trying to be all things to all people. And we took a step back and said, what really are the industries where we believe we can have an outsized impact? Where do we have a differentiated advantage? And a few industries clearly have emerged. One won't be a surprise in the health and life sciences area with all the pharmaceuticals here. The other in clean tech, and we've launched a variety of programs with PSEG and others around the clean tech industry. Another with Verizon being headquartered here is around 5G and smart cities. And another one that the last in the headlines here is around FinTech, because there's such a concentration of talent and companies here. And so what we do is we team up with corporations. We run certain programs around entrepreneurship and innovation, and some are large and giant events like our 8,000 person Propellify event. Some are small and very intimate 6-person roundtable discussions. But the goal is to do a lot of what this event is about. How do we make sure we're creating the right pipeline of companies, talent, and investment to go into these companies? And how do we say to the world in general, if you have a company in this industry, by locating yourself here, we can help you grow faster. As a startup entrepreneur myself, many times over, I care a little bit less about geography than I do about growth. And if I know that moving to anywhere helps my company grow 10x faster, I will go there. And that's what I think our value prop should be here, is you become part of this community and we will get you in the doors of the companies that could be your investors, your customers, your acquirers, your partners. And I think that's ultimately the real business value that we can help. We, Tech United, and we, the business community in general, can help bring to the forefront as these industries grow.
I appreciate that, Aaron. We appreciate all your support for the companies that we mutually work with. And it's exciting where we're going. So thank you very much. Any final comments?
I would just say that last point is probably the most valuable for those who are saying, like, New Jersey, what's this all about? And I'm not sure, why. Besides the, dozens of points you may have heard here, I really would encourage the business owners and business leaders to think about the business advantage, the need to have business advantage over the nice to have of the geography or anything else.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Next, it's my honor to introduce Connor Kenny. Connor leads the SelectUSA program in Ireland, where he acts as the senior U.S. federal government advisor on Irish investment in the United States. Since joining SelectUSA in January 2017, Connor has successfully worked on Irish investment projects that have added approximately 6,000 jobs to the U.S. economy. Connor has a passion for helping Irish companies to grow and prosper on the international stage, and in 2019 led the largest ever Irish delegation to the SelectUSA Investment Summit. In recent months, Connor has begun to work with colleagues based in the Nordic markets as they look to become more collaborative on inward investment promotion in the United States. So it is my honor to welcome Connor Kenny.
Thanks for that, Bill. Appreciate it. And as everyone can probably tell by my hairstyle, I'm based here in Ireland, obviously, where the barbers are still closed, unfortunately. And I head up the inward investment arm of the US Embassy here in Ireland through an initiative called SelectUSA. And what SelectUSA is, it's the US federal level agency that's responsible for both promoting and supporting foreign direct investment into the United States. So the easiest way to describe it to someone who's Irish and an Irish company is that we are like the IDA equivalent, but for the US market. So a really interesting space to be in. Here in Ireland, we always hear a lot about the US multinationals operating on the ground here, whether it be in healthcare, in financial services, in technology. These companies employ roughly about 180,000 people in the Irish market. What we don't hear as much about is the story of Irish companies in the United States, but Irish companies actually employ just over 110,000 people across all 50 US states. So given the population variance, we punch well above our weight in this regard. And as Peter alluded to at the very beginning in his remarks, we're the 9th largest source of foreign direct investment in the United States. And this was something that the US government recognized back in 2017 when they decided to open up this dedicated SelectUSA office here at the Embassy in Ireland, which I head up to try to support Irish companies in any way that I can. So in terms of what I do, everything I do kind of falls into two broad categories. Firstly is the work that I do with Irish companies themselves. And in this area, it's quite hard to define what it is that I do because every single company's got a different set of needs. But in essence, we're here to try to resolve any issue that you might have when it comes to investing in the United States. And when we say investing, we mean actually setting up a physical location and hiring people on the ground in the United States. So we deal with companies from all sectors and companies from all sizes. Obviously, there's some prevalent sectors being in Ireland, things like technology, healthcare, food, engineering services, construction, amongst others. And then, of course, our services vary quite a lot depending on what stage a company's at. So say, for example, an early stage Irish company comes to us and is looking to put their first ever US operation on the ground in market. We can assist them with things like bespoke market research, help finding a suitable location for them to set up their business in the United States, assistance with incorporating a US entity, setting up a bank account, any sort of tax, legal, immigration, accountancy advice that they may need. And then if you can imagine, if we go up the chain to the likes of a Glanbia or a Kerry Group or a CRH, who have thousands of people on the ground in the United States, we've got a completely different suite of services that we can lend support to them by maybe someone senior here in the embassy, like the US ambassador to Ireland, or someone senior back in the US Department of Commerce, where we ultimately as SelectUSA report back to. So that's one side of what I do. And then the other side, just really quickly, is if you can imagine, I sit in SelectUSA at a federal level. So I look after all 50 US states. So if a company comes to me and sets up in the great state of New Jersey or any of the other 49 different states, it doesn't really matter to me because it all counts as US jobs created. As you will have learned from this webinar, of course, is that below me, every single state has an inward investments agency, such as Choose New Jersey, the excellent team there. And I do a lot of work with them to make sure their offerings are applicable to Ireland, supporting them as they try to attract Irish companies into their states, but also to make sure that Irish companies are linked in with representatives to maximize the level of support they get, whether it be in New Jersey or any of the other states. So that's kind of a very, very, very long-winded way of me saying that I'm here working on behalf of the US government based at the US Embassy in Ireland to try to support you and your business in any way that I can. And just finally, I just wanted to mention one initiative that we have on the horizon, which is the SelectUSA Investment Summit, taking place this year virtually from June 7th to June 11th. An all-encompassing event for any Irish fintech company that's going across. I would highly recommend that you look into it. Throughout the course of the 4-day program, there's a number of talks, round tables, workshops, encompassing basically every element you can imagine with regards to the US investment landscape, from very basic things like, how do I set up a business? How do I find a suitable location for me to establish an entity in the United States, all the way down to kind of niche sector specific financial services talks that will be taking place throughout the course of the 4 days. On top of the talks, it's the one event of the year where all 50 US states are there under one roof. So if there are states that are of particular interest to you, it's an excellent opportunity to blitz that and meet with 10, 15, 20, however many you want to throughout the course of the program. And then interestingly, this year we have a particular offering for early stage Irish and international companies. So any company that's under 8 years old, under 10 million in global revenues, and under 40 employees worldwide qualifies for a special discounted rate of $350 to the SelectUSA Investment Summit. That gives you access to the full program, but it also allows you to attend certain workshops about soft landing options in the United States, how to finance your business in the United States, and also gives you the opportunity, if you want to avail of it, to virtually exhibit and virtually pitch your company to a panel of experts. One of the pitching sessions being specifically focused on international fintech companies. So if anyone's interested in learning more about the summit, or just talking to me in general about how we here at the Embassy through SelectUSA can support your company with your US aspirations, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'm sure Bill or whoever is in charge of the communications can feel free to circulate my email address at the end of this. So I'll hand back to you, Bill, and thanks a million for this opportunity. I should have said thanks to the team in New Jersey from the offset for this fantastic webinar.
Connor, appreciate it, and appreciate all the work that you do for the companies that are looking to come to the United States. We appreciate your support on the ground in Ireland. And definitely, if folks are looking information about the summit, whether you have questions, you can reach out to us or to Connor directly, and we will be able making information available. It is now my honor to introduce the next panel, which will be discussing sport wagering. I'm going to introduce the moderator, Bill Penders. Bill is a highly accomplished senior business executive, having spent over 30 years in the private business sector. He served as the CEO and then president of a New York Stock Exchange listed Bound & Company, $1.2 billion global finance and professional services firm with over 40 offices worldwide. He's lived and worked in Europe, Asia, and the United States. He leads the financial and professional services sector with the New Jersey Office of Economic Transformation at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. He oversees the initiative, the development of the sports betting and technology cluster, and expanding New York's engagement with cybersecurity and fintech industries. Bill, I'll leave it to you now and your team.
Thank you, Bill, for the introduction and the opportunity to address this group. Prior to introducing our panelists, you may be asking, why are we working sports wagering into the thread of this discussion? We see a direct alignment between these two sectors, and I'll provide an example for you. Everyone is likely familiar with a company called Robinhood. Got some global media recently relating to some trading incidents, but it's an online trading app developed to buy and sell stocks on the stock market. We consider that a FinTech tool or product, if you will. And it really is in direct alignment with the same products that you see online from whether it's DraftKings or Fanduel or Bet365 or William Hill. Their online apps are very similar. You're just betting on a different activity. So the underlying technology tools supporting these platforms are basically the same. So that is a connection that we are making, that online sports wagering is highly dependent on FinTech. The other interesting data point that I will note prior to starting our discussion is that in the United States, and in particular in New Jersey, the casino industry, where we have a number of them operating, still use cash as their primary means of financial interaction with their customers. So there's a major opportunity for the FinTech industry moving forward with that particular data point. So let me introduce for you Director David Rebuck from the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement. This is the agency here in New Jersey that regulates all of our state gambling, including our casinos, racetracks, and now, of course, all of our sports wagering platforms or sports books. This includes all online gaming from these entities, which is highly dependent on high-performing technology to operate. And in particular, numerous FinTech platforms are required within the online gaming service model. I will also be introducing Anthony Gao, the CEO of G3 Esports. G3 is a full-service esports gaming and entertainment agency that helps partners navigate the emerging world of esports. Not everyone is familiar with esports, so I'll give you a quick overview. Esports is the name given to highly skilled video game competitions. So some familiar leagues to you may be the League of Legends, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Fortnite, Valorant, NBA 2K, Madden. There's a whole global landscape of gamers tied into these activities, including high school, college, and professional teams. And this industry is incredibly tied to technology and financial technology, as there is a significant global wagering component that takes place daily within this ecosystem. We consider both Director Rebuck and Anthony Gao as subject matter experts in their respective environments, and I expect that you will find their comments today insightful. So to frame the discussion, here in New Jersey, we have a flourishing sports wagering sector, over 20 licensed platforms operating, many companies from Ireland, the UK, across the EU, Australia, and Asia have come to establish their US operations in New Jersey. New Jersey finished the year 2020, with the highest annual sports betting handle of any state, surpassing Nevada by more than 1.5 billion in wagers placed. So for the year in 2020, we had 6 billion wagers placed in the state of New Jersey, which for us was up over 30% from 4.5 billion placed in 2019. So to put that in context, Nevada has had legalized sports betting since 1949. New Jersey has had it since June of 2018, and we've already surpassed Nevada significantly. So what is driving this? There's two primary factors. Number one, our forward-thinking, collaborative regulatory environment under the leadership of Director Rebuck, where we work closely with companies to ensure that their products and platforms will work and are legal. And secondly, our ability to embrace and enable the use of technology in this sector, specifically our capabilities built around empowering online gaming, which has really proliferated over the past year with COVID-19. And FinTech companies are an integral part of the sports wagering supply chain. So I will ask Director Rebuck for his perspective and firsthand experience on how the technology supply chain and infrastructure in New Jersey has enabled the significant growth we have experienced within the sports wagering industry. Director Rebuck, over to you.
Well, thank you, Bill, and it's a pleasure to be here with all the participants today, as well as all those who are viewing from the US and Ireland. For those who are unfamiliar with gaming or even our regulatory model, I can assure you that the operations in New Jersey are extremely business-centric And in comparison to probably what in the gaming world, most of you in Ireland are most familiar with what is happening today in the United Kingdom and the extremely adversarial relationship between the operators and the government in the United Kingdom, that does not exist in the United States today. We're new to the sports wagering market, having just led the legal fight to have it authorized and overturn federal law from the history of this country just about that prohibited sports wagering in an illegal way. Our model in New Jersey is having the industry led by our existing casinos and racetracks, and those are financial institutions in the United States. Historically, the financial institutions have then, in my experience in dealing with them, have had great services for financial transactions, but their technological experiences were less than embraced. Beginning in 2018 and probably as early as 2015, the industry's financial side of the house began to realize that they needed to do more to embrace technology, because the technological benefits to allowing them to improve their business operations are immense. And COVID, as Bill the COVID pandemic, as Bill mentioned, brought that home to these financial institutions. Whereas every state in the United States saw their gaming industry in gross gaming revenue decrease from the prior year, ours increased. And ours increased because our financial institutions, casinos and racetracks had already instituted online wagering and online sports wagering. Now, you might in financial tech industry, I've heard a lot of things today on the call, and I would just highlight that, as Bill mentioned, the B2C operators, William Hill, DraftKings, Fanduel, many of them are on operation today and have used New Jersey as the gateway to expand to other jurisdictions in the United States. But one thing that we have learned, and very much so, is that there are hundreds of business-to-business companies that are relied on by the B2C companies to offer their product in the financial market and in the online market. And the needs are, I mean, we've identified many of them, but I'll just go tick them off to you. Know your customer, payment processing, cashless payment. Cashless payment's been authorized in our bricks and mortar industry by New Jersey since 2011. As of 2021, none have it. They will in the future because they need it and they've learned through COVID. Geolocation services, because it's collecting taxes and also for the purpose of ensuring those who in jurisdictions who are not allowed to gamble cannot gamble. Cybersecurity, data privacy, critically important. Trading risk, financial crime. We're covered by, we regulate financial crime. The federal government through the Department of Treasury regulates financial crime. It is an extremely important area for risk management and can only be improved through technology. Credit, issuing credit and marketing analytics of the data on those who wish to gamble all have to be improved through technology. So those are many examples of the technological aspect of how these casinos operate and the racetracks operate. And I would say that even on the retail side of the house, the retail bricks and mortar, the technological needs in those areas are immense. And the industry has began to expand their investment into those areas. And I believe that those expansions will continue, particularly as we move into the next couple of years and the competition exists between the operators. And more importantly, as these operators expand to new jurisdictions that do not have sports wagering, or do not have online gambling at all will be expanding into those areas, because clearly Irish people know that they've had long history of legalized gambling on sports. We have not in the United States. So it's clearly we're still in our infancy stages. We have many lessons learned from others, but we continue to learn and grow. And I think the opportunities are well known by the B2C companies of the potential for expanding opportunities as many other states begin to look at what they need to do. And why New Jersey? Well, I'll tell you why. It's very simple. New Jersey is a leader and sets the parameters and has done so in the gaming industry for over 40 years. It is seen as what I call the platinum standard. And I can assure you, because I can speak firsthand, as other states look to expand in these areas, they copy exactly what has been done and successfully implemented in this state. So we take great pride in that, and our governor and administration with EDA has made it very clear to me as a regulator, you better continue to be a leader in this area, not only for our state, but for showing the rest of the country how it should be done. So New Jersey is a prime area, as I've said before, to look at as a gateway, not just to come into New Jersey and operate, but as a gateway as other states begin to experience how they're going to regulate and how they're going to look to the future if they want to expand in this area of gaming. Bill, turn it back to you.
Thank you, Dave. And as always, appreciate your insights and your experience. We'll transition across the gaming spectrum now to the world of esports. Esports relies on a significant and complex technology platform that includes machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, fintech, and more. We are in the early stages now, but we will see growth in esports wagering as the next demographic of fans, the millennials and Generation Z, are more interested in esports than what we would consider regular sports, and will want to wager on those professional competitions and even on themselves playing against their friends in skill-based video games, maybe at a casino. So there is an opportunity to build out and transition the current online gaming platforms to accommodate wagering on esports, which will certainly require a fair amount of financial technology. So I will ask Anthony Gow to walk us through at a high level what that transition will require.
Thank you, Bill. And I also want to thank Director Reebok for stating his position. The Division of Gaming Enforcement has had a real entrepreneurial spirit and effort in forwarding New Jersey's efforts in keeping up with the what is the standard for esports wagering. They're really leading the pack, and that's I'm very proud to be here. And I also want to say that I owned a business in Malahide for many years that was acquired in 2012 by Disney, and it is an absolutely gorgeous place. Ireland, I found, is just a charming place to work, and I cherish every moment that I was there, especially when I was there for the 2012 St. Patrick's Day, which was just a moment I'll never forget. As Bill mentioned, esports is a growing industry. It's actually a very large industry and growing. And as it relates to gambling, the real key thing here is the changes in demographics that warrant a change in casino products, right? So millennials and Generation Z are not as interested in games that don't have player agency, meaning games where they can't control the narrative, where they can't decide where the outcomes are. And those games include slot games, which are some of the most popular games in the casino gaming space. So if we bring in the gaming population, the video game population, if we can reach that audience, it is much larger and has a much more spending potential than in previous generations. So currently there are about 72 million millennials in the US, or about 1/4 of the population. They're the first generation that are digital natives, meaning they have an affinity for technology, that they were born from day one, the technology surrounded them. They wield about $1.3 trillion in annual buying power. And even though they may be reluctant to buy items like cars and houses, they are much more inclined to pay for entertainment experiences and events. And as Bill mentioned, they do prefer watching esports video game competitions over traditional sports. And at least as recently as 2012, 22% of them regularly watched gaming competitions online. It's important to note that video games are the single largest entertainment medium on the planet. It's easier to say how many people aren't playing, which is 33% are not playing video games around the world. 2.5 billion people are described as gamers, with 66% of Americans, or 164 million people, they regularly play video games. And the demographics for that lean heavily toward millennial, but as baby boomers also are part of that group, with 9% of the people 55 to 64 being regular day gamers, and even 6% of people over the age of 65. And another critical thing, people are watching video games as much as they are playing them, with 1 out of every 3 video streams online representing a video game or something related to video game culture. So, you know, as Bill mentioned earlier, what is esports? So esports is traditional, it's just people playing video games against each other in a competitive atmosphere. And it's sort of surprising that esports has become the big entertainment medium. And it isn't just a hobby. It's not a fad, and it's not a temporary activity. It is part of the current culture, and it's global, right? So esports is at an inflection point. The viewership is exploding. It's the most coveted demographics for marketers with the millennials and Gen Z. It is completely socially acceptable, but maybe when we grew up, or I grew up in the 80s, the gamers were the few. Now it's the people who don't game are the few. It is inherently global. Competitions are waged worldwide regularly through online competitions, and it does encapsulate global games that can also be moved online and offline. So competitions can move online, start online, and move offline into brick and mortar casinos, brick and mortar establishments. The size of the market is estimated to be $1 billion, but the esports wagering market, which is nascent and does encompass some gray areas, is estimated to be already at $12.9 billion by 2025. Just to emphasize how big esports is, in 2018 in Katowice, Poland, 173,000 people attended an event for 2 weeks with 46 million users, with 46 million unique users online. It is bigger than any other sport, bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the NBA, bigger than anything. China is literally building esports cities in the Wuhu precincts and other locations. In Korea, where I have a lot of experience in, some game releases are national holidays, where schools close to allow the students to have fun with the latest release of Kart Rider. And there are many professional leagues already started and more in development, including Call of Duty and Overwatch. And with the help of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, collegiate leagues such as my own, the Conference One, have launched across the U.S. that are varsity collegiate leagues that give out scholarships to students that only play video games for the university and competitions. The video game market itself is very large, at $60 billion a year, and it's estimated to reach $65 billion by the end of this year. In 2020, the mobile video game market was $77 billion. And the types of games that are played include, shooters like Counter-Strike and Overwatch and Call of Duty, and video games such as Rocket League, which is cars playing soccer. And as silly as that sounds, millions of people every week watch events with cars playing soccer, including my kids are in a league. And also sports simulations such as NBA 2K, John Madden football, and other type of sports simulations, including FIFA. So FinTech, as I mentioned earlier, Ireland is a fantastic place to do business with, and I've done it for many years. Director Rebuck mentioned the need for technologies and how immense they are. And we believe that FinTech can help with the transition for the supplying these required technologies. And these technologies are, in reference to today's discussion, really related to the gaming industry, the casino gaming industry, and how it transitions from one standard of games into what we call the esports customer base. And we're going to require technology that's related to online gaming platforms. And that defines sort of platforms that are played on or host or communicate games. Geolocation is very important, being able to verify the user's location at any given time. Security, being able to verify that these systems are as hack-proof as possible. transaction analytics, meaning the relationships between users are analyzed to see whether or not there's deception or fraud that is being achieved by a player intentionally losing. And also the gaming technologies for the creation of new games that are going to propel us for the next 10, 20 years in the casino gaming industry. As Director Rebuck mentioned, cashless payment systems are very important. But there are also ways to move the payments that we could also protect the users from overspending. So it's not just about moving money, but also protecting the users to make sure that the money they're moving is money that they can afford. KYC, which is Know Your Customer technologies. We need to be able to identify users when they play these games. A lot of games that are being played online, we need to make sure that someone hasn't replaced another gamer who's a better gamer, pretending to be a worse gamer, or an underage gamer pretending to be someone who's authorized to use a platform. And there's a lot of technology help that we'll need in creating those kind of systems. Backend platforms are platforms that are behind the scenes, but can also create reports that tell stories about how the users, what they prefer to do, what their tendencies are, and also related to the transaction analysis. What are their relationships with others? And can we see long-term patterns that are troubling or the casinos can use to sort of heighten their preference, their technologies and offerings for the customers. And finally, as we move into what is essentially a new technology, which is NFT, non-fungible tokens, we need to be able to, if we incorporate these technologies, to verify and secure these digital assets to make sure that we're playing with something that isn't speculative, right? So if we get into those areas, those are some things we want to take care of. So with my experience with Ireland, the technology and people there are just really fantastic to work with. And I hope that we get a relationship going that brings a lot of the Irish companies here to New Jersey, because we could really use the help, and you guys are the perfect people to do it.
Anthony, thank you. And again, appreciate your insights as always. So Bill, back to you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it, and appreciate the panel and your insights, Director and Anthony. As we've discussed throughout the entire event, clearly we're excited about New Jersey and how we have the capabilities, not only from a location standpoint, but from the workforce standpoint, from the governor on down, on how important we think it is for FinTech and companies to come here and, as Hugh said, to grow and do well. I want to briefly talk about Choose New Jersey and the services we provide. We're an economic development organization where we support companies as they're coming to New Jersey in a variety of ways through complementary services, whether it's site selection, introducing you to the right folks. And as you can see on this panel, on these many panels, that we have relationships throughout the state, everywhere from the government to the Economic Development Authority to the local ecosystem, where we can introduce you to folks that can help you grow your company as you come here. One of those areas that we also have relationships with are with the Institutes of Higher Learning. And it's my pleasure also to introduce Bernie McSherry, who will give us some words as well. But if anybody has questions about how to come to New Jersey and those things, choosenewjersey.com. You can also reach out to Connor Kenny if you're in Ireland, and he'll be able to support you as well. But as I said, I'd like to introduce Bernie McSherry. Bernie is a 33-year Wall Street veteran and a longtime member of the New York Stock Exchange. He founded McSherry & Company in 1988, eventually growing it into one of the largest independent brokerage firms on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. He served as in a number of leadership positions within the financial services industry and has chaired several New York Stock Exchange committees, including the Equity Traders Advisory Committee. Dr. McSherry joined New Jersey City University in 2011 and has served as an associate professor of finance and is the founding dean of the NJCU School of Business since July 2014. Bernie, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bill. And let me just take this opportunity to thank everybody for participating in the panel today, from Peter and yourself, Nicole, and all of our friends at Choose New Jersey. And a special shout out to Governor Murphy for taking time to speak with us this morning. I think one thing we've all heard today is that about the advantages of doing business in New Jersey, especially in the FinTech realm. We have all the components in place that are necessary to succeed. We have a great ecosystem of supporting organizations, supporting services, and experienced firms. We have an amazing location and a great legacy. In fact, the building that I'm sitting in, looking across the way at Manhattan, is a former Morgan Stanley back office. It is now a business school, and many of these buildings around here have been converted to fintech-based firms from their former uses as settlement and clearing operations. I know similar things are taking place in Dublin down by the Docklands. One of the key things that we view ourselves here at the School of Business is to be a key player in this space. We are working very hard to educate our workforce, to get students trained up to take leadership roles in the industry. I know that's a great need to have people who are prepared to take these kinds of jobs. We are pioneering a number of new programs here. We have the first FinTech master's degree program in the state of New Jersey, and we've been rolling out lots and lots of programs in data science and informatics and information systems and the like. I'd invite you all to please get in touch with us. I'm going to put up my email address in the chat just a moment. But we'd love to work with you. We'd love to help anybody who wants to transition over here to New Jersey to do business. And we'd also like to work with any of you who have a need for our students as workers. And I'm just going to announce a little sneak preview. And thanks to Bill Penders, Eric Solomon, Tim Sullivan, and our friends and colleagues of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. In a few weeks, we'll be formally announcing the creation of a FinTech Sport Wagering Innovation Center here at the School of Business. We are focusing that on, as I mentioned, for workforce development, research, and we are seeking partners. We will be reaching out to all of you to see if you'd like to work with us to help strengthen the FinTech operations of New Jersey. So you'll be hearing from us in the near future. And again, thanks to our friends of the EDA on that note. I think we're going to wrap this up here, just about out of time. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for participating, all the panelists, all the folks who helped organize it. And we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. This has been recorded, so we'll be sending that out as well. Thank you all.